Hello and welcome to the Dead Air Dudes. I'm Izzy.
I'm Raka. Welcome one and all to another edition of our series of JuJu.
Welcome, Dead Air Nation.
Dead Air Nation. Hello. How the hell are you?
Hello, one and all. It's an honor and a privilege to be with you guys. And like Raka said, we're continuing the Bad JuJu series. I do believe this is part 3, I think, where we're in the most evil places in the world, scariest, haunted, whatever, And today we're going to, time permits, we have 2 in mind. If not, we're just going to go with Big Boy. We're going to go with the Devil's Pass or the Dyatlov Pass. Sorry if I mangled the name, but, And that's in Russia.
So, as the story goes, as the account goes, in between February 1st and 2nd in 1959, a group of 9 Russian hikers died in the northern Ural Mountains under uncertain, unexplained circumstances. They were an experienced group, all from the Ural Polytechnical Institute.
Yep.
They had established a camp on the slopes of the, here we go, Kholat Syakhl. Sorry, 1,000 apologies. And in an area now named in honor of the group's leader, Igor Dyatlov. Sorry, again, I hope. Forgive me. Apparently, during the night, something caused them to tear away out of their tents, flee the campsite. Some were most inadequately dressed for the heavy snowfall and sub-zero temperatures, and subsequently, all of the party died. Take it from there.
All right. It was it had been agreed beforehand that Dyatlov would send a telegram to the sports club as soon as the group returned to Vizhay. It was expected this would happen no later than February 12th, but Dyatlov had told Yudin, another one of the bikers, that he expected to be longer, so when the date passed and no message had been received, there was no immediate reaction. Delays of a few days were common in such expeditions. Only after the relatives of the travelers demanded a rescue operation did the head of the institute send the first rescue group consisting of volunteer students and teachers. On February 20th, later the army and police forces became involved, with planes and helicopters being ordered to join the rescue operation. Now, funny thing, the guy I mentioned before, Yuri Yudin, fell sick at the outset and had to return, thus avoiding the fate of the others. He didn't have the slightest idea what might have happened to his comrades, and Yuri Yudin died in 2013 at the age of 75. So if he would have went with them, he would have been,
I mean, by all accounts, each member of the group were an experienced grade 2 hiker with ski tour experience, and receiving grade 3 certification if they had returned. At the time, that was the highest certification available in the Soviet Union. So this vets that they were experienced people, experienced in the snow, navigating through the snow, camping out through the snow, getting around through those temperatures, surviving in those temperatures. Now, as you had mentioned, an expedition was sent forth to recover the bodies. Upon recovery of the bodies, here's where things get deeper.
Exactly. On February 26th, the searchers found the abandoned and badly damaged tent at Kholat, Faiki. Jeez, I apologize. Mihail Sharabin, the student who found the tent, said the tent was half torn down and covered with snow. It was empty, and other groups' belongings and shoes had been left behind. Think about that, all right?
In this freezing sub-zero temperature.
Exactly. Investigators said the tent cut open from the inside, okay? And that skiers had fled in socks or barefoot.
All of them.
Yeah, all of them. A chain of 8 or 9 sets of footprints left by several people who were wearing socks, a single shoe, or barefoot could be followed and led down towards the edge of nearby woods on the opposite side of the pass, 1.5 kilometers northeast. But after 500 meters, they were covered with snow. All right.
So, 6 of the 9 had been determined to die from hypothermia, while 3 others showed signs of physical trauma. 1 victim had a fractured skull. 2 others had major chest fractures, and the body of one of the group was missing both its eyes. One of the victims was missing a tongue. The investigation concluded that a compelling natural force caused the deaths. I gotta stop right there and ask you, what natural force gouges your eyes, cuts out your tongue, fractures your skull, and gives you chest contusions and fractures as well?
I mean, yeah. I mean,
polar bear is natural, I guess.
Look at this account. At the forest edge under a large old cedar, the search party found the remains of a fire, along with the first two bodies, those of Yuri Kryushovenko and Yuri Doroshenko, shoeless and dressed only in the underwear. So whatever it was scared them so much that they tore their tent, ran out in their underwear. Okay? In their underwear. The branches on the tree were broken up to 5 meters high, suggesting that the skiers had climbed up to look for something, perhaps to camp. Forensic tests later confirmed that traces of skin were found embedded in the bark, indicating that the pair had frantically attempted to climb the tree, snapping off branches until their hands were masses of pulpy flesh. The medical examiner recorded that some of the corpses had liver mortis on the front, given that such marks always form on the side of a body that has been pressed against the ground. This indicated that someone had turned them over after death. I mean, and I can go on. It goes into full detail of it's. So we don't know whether or not it was a monster, whether or not it was some supernatural being, whether or not they did themselves, whether or not, and even then, now, there's many theories to this. So many theories that I have a list of like 20 theories of things that people have thought of. I mean, let's go back because this is fascinating. Then they found Igor Dyatlov, 300 meters from the cedar, and Zinalda Kolmogrova, 630 meters from the cedar. And 6 days later, on March 5th, Rustem Slobodin, 480 meters from the cedar. The 3 seem to have died in poses suggesting that they were attempting to return to the tent. A medical examination found no injuries that might have led to their deaths, and it was concluded that they died of hypothermia, like you said before. Slobodin had a small crack in the skull, but it was not thought to be a fatal wound.
So here's some interesting scientific angles. It's been reported by people who die of hypothermia for extreme exposure to low temperatures that, ironically, you can feel the sensation of severe cold similar to a freezer burn.
Okay.
And so in many recovered bodies in autopsies and post-mortem examinations after exposure and frostbite, you find the bodies naked. It's because they believe they're on fire. And they strip their clothes off because they believe they're on fire. But you're also losing it as far as consciousness and reality. So that can be an understandable event should you suffer such extreme low temperatures exposure. However, these individuals ran out of their tents into freezing sub-zero weather, possibly at nighttime, in their underwear. So nobody stripped. You didn't see a line of clothes as they ran or in sites where they were recovered where their clothes were left. They left the tent ripped open from the inside out, wearing socks, possibly one shoe, and just sprinted out of there. What on God's green earth would make 9 collective individuals do that into intolerable human temperatures, ice conditions, and what else is out there if there's any predatory animals in that elevation? What makes one do that? So you kind of throw out as hypothermia, it can be the cause of death, but what caused them to storm out of their warm tents remains the biggest mystery of all.
Well, that's where all the theories come in and everything,
I mean, there's some oddities as well. High levels of radiation were found on one victim's clothing. 1959, where are you getting high levels of radiation? There's
been theories.
The disturbing one, as we mentioned before, was one of the female, Dubinina, I believe her name, was missing her tongue, eyes, part of her lips, as well as facial tissue and fragments of her skull bone.
Yep.
Now, that kind of all goes part and parcel to predator attack and possible consumption. Because if they're going to bite into you, I mean, you would have to wonder, why not an animal bite the meat? Why going after eyes? This is hard to get out, nose, lips. Here's the freaking filet mignon. Here's the ribs. Here's his chest muscle. Here's a leg of lamb. So there's a lot of oddities that have your head scratching and kind of rule out different theories. There's also obviously, people will blame closest nearby. There's an indigenous group of people called the Mansi.
Yep.
And there's been strong suggestions that they were being hunted by the Mansi. I don't know how you validate that. I don't know how you go through the Mansi village.
From the Dyatlov group, pitched their tent. They were 200 feet away from the camp.
Is that far at all?
No. But, again, to do that kind of damage. The Mansi are province of the people. They consider these mountains their hunting ground. If the Mansi told them that they should be there, and the hikers took it the wrong way, a verbal confrontation could have easily escalated into physical. I don't know. Mansi knew the area and definitely had the skills to hide their ski tracks and hunt the hikers into the woods.
That is another thing. Only 9 tracks were recovered. Yeah. So if there was a predator, where's the predator's track?
Right.
Only 9. Now, another glaring question mark was one of the 9 or more than one of the 9 on the attack, and maybe posed a fierce enough weapon or adversary that they couldn't subdue this individual for some reason, and they ran from the individual. And that individual in the same party turned on them.
It's possible because they did find the last three bodies. They were fully dressed, and I think better dressed than the rest. They had clothes, and one had a coat on, and it's entirely possible.
Well, let's consider that right there. Let's say it's 3 going after 6. I mean, you have the odds against you. You know, why would 6 run away with 3 unless, you know, they had firearms or weapons or something? But it's still bizarre. Very bizarre as far as how it plays out.
And one of the more possible things that happened that I've, is infrasound. Okay. The technological theory that was suggesting that the infrasound might have been responsible for sudden unpleasant feelings among the hikers. New research into rare weather phenomena has suggested that a perfect storm, quote unquote, could have struck the campers in the night, panicking them so much that they would have fled the tent and fallen victim to the brutal cold before they came to their senses. They had a guy named Donnie Icar, spent 5 years researching said incident. He undertook the dangerous trek himself and believed that a wind phenomenon called a Kármán vortex street could have produced a terrifying, powerful sound which is proven to induce irrational fear in humans. Due to the unique topography, Dead Mountain, which is a perfect dome shape, the fierce winds that blow through the pass could have been warped as they struck the blunt surface. The wind, which was blowing in a straight line, would be twisted into a series of small but powerful tornadoes which would tear down either side of the pass. The tornadoes, spinning fast enough to tear the roof off buildings, could have created a deafening noise, even if they missed the tents, as Icar theory suggests. And it goes on. But under certain circumstances, they could also produce a more subtle and terrifying phenomenon known as infrasound. The opposite of ultrasound, infrasound is a type of vibration in the air which has a frequency so low it cannot be picked up by the human ear. But a succession of studies has shown that it can have marked effects on the human body, including loss of sleep, shortness of breath, and extreme dread. Icar, backed by scientists of the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration in the U.S., believes that the combination of the effects of infrasound, the deafening noise of tornadoes, and the claustrophobic pitch-black tent could unseat even the most steady-minded adventurer.
They support that theory that that's the reason why, with the urgent waking, they fled out into the woods, most of which in underwear and not fully clothed, and in the darkness of night got separated. But their prime directive was safety due to an impending avalanche.
Yes.
And a group did try to make a fire, so they used sticks. They were in an area where they knew they were going to freeze to death, and they were naked. So this is evidence-based. We have proof of it on the burn of their hands. The individual had their tongue ripped out, was explained to have been since died or caught in snow. The mouth is open, the tongue is out, and predators naturally will go after that. And that's why. Again, all plausible, except there are some holes in the theory, as researchers and rescue groups have scavenged the area. They said that there were no obvious signs of an avalanche or even excessive wind, snowstorm and snowdrift or whatever. So it's perplexing that, although very convenient, one umbrella answer doesn't hold. I mean, I do have to ask. So 3 of the party slept fully dressed, and 6 decides to sleep in underwear in a tent.
Maybe they'll have it in a party, if you know what I mean.
This is where I think the human element of, I don't know, maybe jealousy, maybe inappropriateness, maybe
To the point,
a lover's quarrel or triangle, love triangle or something.
no, that's not normal, man.
Not in sub-zero temperatures. I don't care how hot you look. I don't know if we're gonna make it, man.
What about the Yeti theory?
I've read about the Yeti theory. I'm pretty much a believer in a lot of things. I'm curious that I'm hopeful that a possible Bigfoot or Yeti does exist. Not so much as a missing link, but more of there are animals that we have not discovered. We're discovering different species every day. Why not a giant ape or ape-like creature or a missing link type? Okay. So the number one thing that strikes you when posed with the Yeti hypothesis is you got 9 tracks. If a Yeti is way bigger than a human, where's that track?
Maybe he flies. Maybe
Okay, I'm dropping the mic right now. I'm leaving the stage. A flying Yeti. You know, you produced that to me right now, and I'll give you every cent I own, which is not a lot, but I mean, good God. You know, I think we'll drop the whole podcast act right now and we'll just go around the circus around the world just showing our flying Yeti.
Yeah, no.
I mean, the Yeti theory, the number one hole in that theory is where's the footprints? Where's the tracks?
What about gravity fluctuation? How about that? More science.
Okay, you can take that one, sir, because
you never discounted the infrasound either. You never.
No, that's plausible. Just like an impending avalanche. So what you just said with that kind of sound sharpness could wake you up in the middle of the night, and you may, even though they're young, but even a seasoned snow tracker might be woken up by a sound that's exactly similar to beginning rumblings of an avalanche or a whistling high turbine speed vortex coming through. Completely plausible. Let's say you wake up and you start screaming, avalanche, avalanche. You wake everybody else up and then the panic takes over, right? Just like somebody yells fire, everybody's sleeping. You hopefully go into survival mode, which is seek shelter, run away, get into, and the dense forest nearby is the perfect place, right? Yeah. And in the cover of night, yes, you might lose each other in the darkness. And, you know, a group of 3 and a group of 6 stay together. Very plausible.
Back to the gravity fluctuation. All right, the scientists, Russian scientists, believe the hikers came to the area where under certain circumstances the force of gravity can fluctuate. They believe that the group came to the area which at the confluence of circumstances can be significantly decreased force of gravity. It formed a corridor of a kind in which Earth's gravity decreased. The hikers in the tent, sleeping or just getting ready, had time to undress, and then, quote-unquote, unknown force began to lift them up off the floor, and drag them into the direction of the corridor.
So I think you're mixing things up. That was our Exorcist episode from one.
And the outside air pressure was significantly lower than the inside tent. People began to push outwards. The emerging hikers instantly pushed the tent from the inside, and since the pressure in their bodies still remained high, they received, quote-unquote, unexplained internal injuries, including broken bones. Some of the hikers died instantly, others remained alive for some time, but the bodies, once outside the tent, remained hovering in the air as though lying on a horizontal surface. In this position, same force pulled them to the side. Jeez. I don't know. I don't know if I should even continue. That's just...
I don't know. I think Houdini was well dead before this magic freak show happened. I mean, how about the military testing theory?
Yeah, I've read that. Well, that's how the movie goes, isn't it?
Yes. Now it solves a lot of questions.
The movie.
Burn marks on their hands, burn marks on some of their bodies, some odd burn to skin and hair on some of the victims. Why they ran? Because they woken up in the middle of the night by explosions and bombs. And it does explain one of the individuals testing high for radiation. Of course, the government does not corroborate any of this.
Well, they wouldn't. I mean, what about the Wolverine attacking it? I swear to God, that's a theory.
Now,
I'm not even gonna get into that one.
A Wolverine is an animal that will attack anybody, regardless of size. It wants to eat. It's freezing cold. Food is very scarce. Duh, right? All the duh that I have to give you. Should the Wolverine come and attack the group, and the group find themselves without any substantial weapons, I could see them fleeing.
In your underwear?
Well, let's say you did sleep in your, let's say 6 or 5 of them, let's say some of them did sleep in the buck. They were snug in a bug in their goose down.
I mean, you might have a chance if we could put some pants on at least, you know? I mean, come on.
Oh, no, let's say, well, okay, here's the thing, right? The tear was from inside out. So how does the Wolverine get in there?
He sneaked in, he knocked on the door and said, hello. Let me come in, please.
Exactly. So how does the Wolverine get in there to scare them? To threaten. Exactly. So that's full part number 1 in that theory. Now, does the Wolverine successfully attack some of them, or after they die, attack their flesh and bones, and that's why there's a tongue missing and some scrapes and abrasions here and there? Yes. But then you have a group that has burn marks in their hand, and there's a small campfire that they found. So, God, I mean, the visual of 6 shivering bodies trying to make a fire in the dead of winter in their underwear. And if there's predator lurking, how are you not on the constant run?
Yeah, that's what I mean. Look.
It's so odd in trying to piece together and surmise a plausible scenario which checks all the boxes for the mysteries laid out.
Another one's an altercation in the past, which is something we discussed before. What about Arctic hysteria? Mera Kaini? Jeez, these names are killing me. This theory became popular after many people started comparing it to the Dyatlov Pass and the JuJu Pass incidents. Introduced the Mera Kaini as a possible cause for the strange behavior of the hikers, i.e. disorientation, loss of track of time, not feeling cold, walking in trance. Other symptoms of this illness can be aggression and atypical for the person behavior in general. Some people call it Americani. The Eskimos call it the call of the North Star. Another word for it is people cloaked. These are all different local names for Arctic hysteria. I mean, the problem with this theory is that it's been observed by only in native peoples. Non-native often observe and report they have never been affected. I don't know. That doesn't sound, If there's anyone, I would probably lean more towards something is up with that area. Either that or, something got him.
Okay, so what of this report in 1997 revealed that the negatives from one of the cameras, I guess. I want to try this name, but I'm not sure. Krivonishchenko. The negatives were kept private in archive of one of the investigators, Lev Ivanov. The film material was donated by the daughter to the Dyatlov Foundation. The diaries of the hiking party fell into Russia's public domain in 2009. I have yet to get anywhere with finding out what are on these negatives, if it's at all even compelling or contributing to the real cause of death here. In 2018, the remains of Solotaverev were exhumed.
Yeah.
By the initiative of journalists of the Russian tabloid newspaper, Komoslovlai Pravda. Boy, I'm so sorry again. 1,000 apologies. Contradictory results were obtained. One of the experts stated that the character of the injuries resembled a person knocked down by a car.
Jeez.
And the DNA analysis did not reveal any similarity to the DNA of living relatives. In addition, it turned out that the same Semyon Solotarev was not on the list of buried at the cemetery. Nonetheless, the reconstruction of the face from the exhumed skull agreed with the post-war photographs of Zolotarev. Although journalists expressed suspicions that another person was hiding.
I have to show you this picture.
So,
I can show
if that is the case, it kind of hints that Semyon Zolotarev was not Semyon Zolotarev. Maybe somebody had a vendetta against him. Maybe he was a war crimes person. Maybe somebody crept up on him to cap his ass. That could be part of it.
But the body of Semyon Zolotarev, shortly after being found, with what appears to be a camera case affected by water on his neck. I'm looking at the picture right now. It's his body. The camera stayed on Zolotarev's body under the water for 3 months. Now,
but if DNA analysis shows that he's not in line with any family members, then that body, who claims to be Semyon Zolotarev, may not be him, but living as an assumed name. He assumed his identity. If the DNA doesn't match any relatives, that ain't him. Who is he? And the plot thickens. And so I guess the thing here is we're laying out layers and layers of bizarre twists and turns for this mysterious death of 9 presumed expert hikers in one of the roughest terrain on Earth. The Ural Mountains in the dead cold of winter or March, either way, sub-zero temperatures. Again, the most bizarre circumstances that we could imagine. Bursting out of their tents, 6 of the 9 in underwear, socks, and possibly one shoe here, one shoe there. So in a rush, in a hurry, heading out into the forest in sub-zero temperatures. Yeah, some of the groups of parties were far away,
so much,
but started to build a fire. Another group was found kilometers away, way far away, near a stream or something. But all 9 were found dead. Determined to be the mode of death, cause of death, to be hypothermia. Now, is this place, as they say, the Devil's Pass, and is it haunted grounds? Are they just an unfortunate lot of 9 individuals who happen to be visited by something supernatural, paranormal, otherworldly, of all things we know, to be deathly terrifying?
Definitely, it was something that, I mean, what could have been that got them so scared that they would do these things? Or, I don't know, man. It's
Let's pose this to ourselves then. You're up there. Let's say you're certified in all the certifications there can possibly be, with knowing the terrain, dealing with the weather, dealing with the elements. What would wake you up from a nice cold evening slumber to get your ass out into the elements unprepared, without your matches, flashlight, winter parka, armaments, communication,
I mean,
you name it. Basically,
you're,
middle night and up.
you're in the mountain, you're in the middle of nowhere, and you start hearing some freaking noises like that, animals or something like that. That would freak you out. I mean, but would it freak you out to the point where you would do something that's so out of the ordinary as to rip your tent from the inside? That's why I'm thinking maybe the whole thing with the infrared or something mental is more logical that happened.
Yes, there are many documented phenomena of kind of losing it in the elements. But what are the odds that all 9 lose it at the same time?
I don't know.
And
I mean, yeah,
as we speak, this just occurred to me,
were
and I'll pose this out to you.
years old. The last one, Zendaya,
Yeah, that's bizarre.
years old. So I don't know. I mean,
Now, this is not unheard of, and this will probably segue into another episode we would do down the road, related to the Devil's Pass here. And this goes back further, and this is just as renowned, if not more renowned, because in this part of the world, the colony of Roanoke, Virginia. So don't date me here, but don't hold me to this, in the 1600s, I guess late 1600s, very early colonies in the United States, before the United States was the United States. There was a colony in Roanoke, Virginia. And this was a good amount of people. This is when it wasn't 9. This was good. And so as one of the main, I guess, statesmen returns back from England, they discover the entire colony to be deserted. Dishes, plates, and settings were left where they were. There's no sign of a mad rush. There's no blood. There's no altercations. There's no fire. It didn't burn down. There weren't hunters. There weren't dead bodies anywhere. Not a soul. So, in the same vein, we have instances documented throughout time that we just cannot explain. Now, today's world, we have cameras everywhere and blah, blah, blah.
It's not the same as they found the bodies here.
They found the bodies here. But you're talking about a whole colony. Where the hell are the bodies? And one single inscription on a tree, which CRO, which we'll get to in another time. But mass-scale disappearances and unexplained murders, which this is, or shall I say deaths, let's leave it at that, under bizarre, odd circumstances. Is it the place? Is it the people? Is it both? Is it something else?
Yeah.
Food for thought.
Oh, I'm sorry we couldn't really get to the bottom of this. This has been there's so much research out there, there's so much stuff out there, and yet no one really knows. And it's been going on for what? Over 50 years, and they still can't, still won't know. You might never know what really happened.
The unfortunate thing is 9 individuals have lost their lives in seemingly very tragic and torturous ways. Be careful out there for all you hikers and adventurers. We're not saying this will happen to you, but should there be warnings about haunted grounds, please heed their warnings. And unlike our departed 9, take a camera with you, at the very least. Charge that satellite phone.
They had cameras. There's pictures. They had cameras.
Take that satellite phone. Even if you hear fire or a whistling avalanche.
The charger.
Well, this has been a very interesting and very captivating topic to explore and expand and bring out to you. Please hit us back with your feedback, your thoughts. How did you think these 9 met their deaths? Let us know. Drop us a line at either our Instagram, Facebook page, and listen to our podcast. Make a comment, like, and subscribe. Thanks so much for your love, and we will continue this series of Bad Juju.
Let us know what you guys thought, and let us know what other haunted, quote unquote, or evil place we can discuss, and hey, keep it locked in, and thank you for listening. I'm Izzy.
I'm Raka. Have a good one, Dead or Dudes Nation, and remember, above all, save the whales.
Take care.